Taxing issue facing the contenders to be the next Prime Minister. As more Tory hopefuls now throw their hats in the ring, could promises of tax cuts secure the keys to number 10? Also ahead, protesters stage a sit-in at the presidential palace in bankrupt Sri Lanka. The cost of living crisis topples the president and Prime Minister. Here, more health warnings as the summer heat wave sweeps the country. And things heat up on centre court as Novak Djokovic wins the Wimbledon's men's final for the 7th time.
This is ITV News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good evening. The battle lines over how much tax we and businesses pay have been drawn between the candidates who hope to become Prime Minister. The former Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, said he'd scrap the rise in national insurance, which was brought in under his watch to help cut NHS waiting times and pay for social care. And one of his predecessors, Jeremy Hunt, also pledged to lower taxes for businesses. Well, today, a 9th candidate, Penny Mordaunt, announced she'd be running, but her campaign began with an awkward start. Our political reporter Shihab Khan on the taxing issue and the contest.
It was his resignation that was the start of the end for Boris Johnson. Sajid Javid, the former Health Secretary, is now officially in the running to replace him as Prime Minister.
Mr Javid, are you selling a low-tax fairy tale?
In his attempt to win support, he has pledged to reverse the increase in national insurance and cut a range of taxes, but hasn't yet provided all of the details.
I will be setting out in the next few days a scorecard which will show exactly how all of that will be funded in a sustainable way. So I don't believe in unfunded tax cuts here. This is a funded proposal. This isn't a risk-free way. Whatever you decide on economic policy has risk, whichever way you go. But I think the much greater risk is not having the tax cuts.
He's not the only former Health Secretary to throw his hat into the ring. Jeremy Hunt, who ran last time, has also pledged to cut taxes.
You came second the last time round. What's going to be different this time?
I think the leadership campaign last time was very focused on Brexit because it hadn't happened. Now it has. People are going to say, well, who has got the experience and the vision to make a success of Brexit? And that, I think, is the leadership that I offer. I'm someone who has a business background, and I want to bring our corporation tax down to 15%, which is the lowest possible level.
Rishi Sunak, the former Chancellor, is at the moment the only candidate to play down tax cuts. And this expert says that if any candidate is pledging to cut taxes, this will need to be paid for in some way.
If you cut taxes and you don't cut spending, then borrowing will rise. I mean, that is a straightforward piece of arithmetic. That's clearly true in the short run. If you're talking about cutting taxes, then you really do need to say what it is on the spending side that you're going to cut back on relative to current plans.
The others who have so far entered the race beyond the three already mentioned are Suella Braverman, Tom Tugendhat, Kemi Badenoch, Nadeem Zahawi, Grant Shapps and Penny Mordaunt.
The party will have a new leader.
She launched her campaign with this social media clip, but not without controversy. It included Oscar Pistorius losing to Johnny Peacock when he won gold in 2012. Peacock then requested to be removed from her video. Tom Tugendhat, one of those standing, is the only candidate to have declared with no ministerial experience. He believes a fresh slate is what the country needs.
Look, I want a return to service. I want the government to return to serving to the British people. I want the Conservative Party to return to doing what it does absolutely best, which is representing the British people. But in order to get there, you're right, we do need a clean start. And if we don't get it, we're going to be going around these circles. Now, we can do better than that.
9 are already running and more are expected to enter the race, which is already wide open.
So Shihab, tax is obviously the main debate today, but it's not the only policy under scrutiny, is it?
No, absolutely. Especially with everything that's going on, the economic situation, the cost of living crisis, how you manage the economy, whether that's through tax rises or actually helping those who are struggling at the moment, is likely to be very high on the agenda. On top of that, the situation in Ukraine, the international scenarios right now that the country is dealing with, that will also feature very high on the agenda. and these culture wars, something that's been a big part of politics in the last few years, something that Boris Johnson spoke a lot about when he ran to be leader. That too is likely to come up a lot. What will happen from now onwards is we've got at least 9 candidates. We expect a few more to potentially throw their hat into the ring. It's Conservative MPs that will decide who amongst those 9 will become the final 2 before the members get to vote on it. And that's why those are the subjects that are being discussed, because those are the things that matter most to Conservative MPs.
And some fresh news in the last few minutes. The Chancellor, leadership contender, of course, Nadine Zahawi, has just issued a statement about his tax affairs.
Absolutely. And this has happened in the last few minutes. He's been talking about a story that was reported over the last few days that he was under investigation from the Serious Fraud Office, the National Crime Agency and HMRC over his tax affairs. He is a very successful businessman. He made a lot of money through the work that he's done. He has described those reports as smears. He says that he himself is not aware of these investigations, and he's pledged that if he becomes Prime Minister, he will publish his tax return annually. He said he's never been a non-dom, he's never had an offshore trust. This is going to be a big issue. Sajid Javid today was saying that he would publish his tax returns if he goes down to the final 2. And this is likely to be something that we have to come back to in the next few days.
She up now. Thank you. Sri Lanka's opposition parties have been meeting today to agree on a new government after both the President and Prime Minister resigned following a day of dramatic protest. Demonstrators angry about food and fuel shortages stormed the official residences, setting one of them on fire. Well, protesters said they'll remain there until a new government is formed. Here's Harry Fawcett with the latest.
For a second day, Sri Lankans have been filing through the ornate halls of their presidential palace, an instant monument to the economic suffering they've been enduring and the political upheaval they've brought about. There's a giddy sense of people power here, the President and the Prime Minister promising to resign, having presided over ever-worsening shortages of food, fuel and medicine. In the palace, by contrast, no shortage of luxury on display.
This is public property. That's our tax money. When the people in the country have nothing, it's not fair for one person to benefit all these things.
Future, we have to be brave and intelligent because we are the people who elected these people into the parliament.
Anger at those politicians in evidence again in the burnt-out shell of the Prime Minister's home. Anger born of desperation in a country declared bankrupt, with inflation topping 50% and millions on the verge of a humanitarian crisis.
If there is lawlessness and if there is no coming together amongst the political groups, there is no way an outside, the international community can come in and help this country.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has said he'll step down on Wednesday, the last serving member of the political dynasty that's dominated the country for 2 decades, accused by opponents of corruption and mismanagement. A tourism-dependent, import-reliant economy was hit first by the pandemic and now by the war in Ukraine. Among the first tasks for a new government, likely to be a cross-party national unity administration, will be to secure a £2.5 billion emergency loan from the International Monetary Fund. Sri Lanka may well have new political leaders within days. It will take far longer to emerge from the economic disaster they're set to inherit. Harry Fawcett, ITV News.
To Ukraine now, where at least 15 people have died after missiles struck an apartment block in the Donetsk region in the country's east. Ukrainian officials say it was a Russian attack and that around 20 people could be buried under the rubble. 5 people have been brought out alive. And at least 15 people have been killed in an overnight shooting at a bar in the South African town of Soweto. Police say a number of gunmen entered the venue and started firing randomly at a group of young people. They fled in a minibus. Their identities or motive are unknown. And Japan has voted in its election, which fell just days after the assassination of influential former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Early results point to a major victory for his party. Here, the heat wave sweeping over much of the country has prompted authorities to issue health warnings as temperatures soar to record levels. Despite those warnings, many took the chance to enjoy the unusually warm weather today, with forecasters saying it could get even hotter next week. Well, Scotland recorded its hottest day of the year so far. And Graham Stotharder's report begins in Kent.
If you could design a day to spend outside, it would have been today. A light breeze, blazing sunshine, a ready-made excuse to find a decadent way to cool down. In Maidstone, Kent, this ice cream festival couldn't have landed on a better weekend.
A bit of a scorcher, so we thought we'd come and just have some ice cream, and my baby's having a bit of a boat ride, so we're behind, just finding a way to kind of keep cool as much as possible, but it's nice to have some sun.
I'm enjoying the hot weather because it's just really nice in the summer.
We're loving the hot weather, aren't you?
Yeah.
Are you liking the hot weather too, Mercy?
This heat, not everyone's cup of tea then.
No one would begrudge you an ice cream on a day like today under sapphire blue skies, but this heatwave has come with a warning, with temperatures pushing 30 today and due to rise even more next week.
The sunshine was shared across Britain. In Scotland, it was the hottest day of the year so far. At the Meadows in Edinburgh, many seized the chance to work on golf technique. On London's Hampstead Heath, to top up their tans. And in Tewkesbury, Gloucestershire, this medieval festival was hot work. Shorts weren't the fashion in the Middle Ages. Amidst the fun, though, a note of caution from the Met Office.
When we are seeing temperatures like that, we're advising people to sort of stay out of the sun between 11 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when the sun is at its strongest. Drink plenty of water. So if you're going to spend some time outside, make sure you sort of wear a hat. It's taking sort of necessary precautions.
The advice then, have fun, but be careful. There's plenty more of this to come. Graham Stothard, ITV News.
And finally, it was on the extreme heat of centre court. Novak Djokovic won his 7th Wimbledon title, beating Nick Kyrgios in the men's singles final. Well, Kyrgios managed to lose his cool again, and watching from the Royal Box, the Cambridges and Prince George. Chloe Keedy was watching as well. Chloe?
Yeah, so this was actually Novak Djokovic's 4th consecutive title here at Wimbledon, but thanks to Nick Kyrgios, this final was anything but predictable. The pair of them actually joked in the run-up to this match on social media that whoever won would have to buy the other one dinner. Now, whether or not that happens, it does seem perhaps somewhat surprisingly that the pair have made friends.
This was the moment Novak Djokovic took his 21st Grand Slam title. He's won 7 of them here on Wimbledon's famous centre court grass. His opponent Nick Kyrgios was all smiles at the net, but the Australian has become known during this tournament for his outbursts, and as he played in his first ever Grand Slam final, he once again provided plenty of drama. With 1 set apiece, it was during the third that Kyrgios began to seem a little distracted. He was unhappy with the umpire,
It shouldn't be coming down to your opinion.
with a woman in the crowd,
But why is she still here?
and also, apparently, with his own support team.
Why do you do that?
Djokovic maintained his focus to take the next 2 sets and the match. And with a young Prince George watching on, he paid tribute to his opponent.
I never thought I'm going to say so many nice things about you, considering the relationship. Okay, it's officially a bromance. It's always has been and will be the most special tournament in my heart, the one that motivated me, inspired me to start playing tennis.
And if you think 21 Grand Slams is impressive, then check out Japan's Shingo Kaneda. He came into the men's wheelchair final today in search of a whopping 28th title. The man hoping to stop him was Great Britain's Alfie Hewitt. And for a while, he looked like he might. In his first Wimbledon singles final, he took the first set.
It's the depth, isn't it?
But Kaneda came back to take the second. The third went all the way to a tense tie-break, the 2 men slogging it out in the sweltering midday sun. But in the end, it went Kaneda's way.
Oh, he rifled that back.
Yeah, I'm obviously gutted. That one's going to sting for a while. Yeah, I mean, it's been incredible this week to, get wheelchair tennis on court number 1 and to get the amount of spectators.
So Alfie is still waiting for the title, but his success at Wimbledon has shone a spotlight on his sport. Chloe Keedy, ITV News, Wimbledon.
Oh, it really has. And that is it for now. I am back with the late news at 10. Until then, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.